Hey, I've got a question for you. What did you want for Christmas? This? Because I wanted that as well, but I also wanted an anti-corruption commission. One with teeth. Just chuck the intro in there, yeah? As you can see, this is just going to be an impromptu chat about the new national NACC, and it will be announced by Megatron here. And oh no, he doesn't have any buttons that talk specifically about that. That's a shame. You really need to up the game to tell or whatever toy product that is. The reason that we're going to be talking about it is because that has to be one of the primary reasons that Labor was elected. It was to get a national anti-corruption commission up and running because the Liberals promised to do it in the last election and then decided, geez, I'm so used to the word union being adjacent to corruption in all my speeches that I thought that it just investigated unions. I didn't know it was going to investigate Barnaby Joyce as well. Oh, don't worry about that, mate. I'd still be screwed if it just investigated unions. Marriage unions, that is. No, I know we're talking about labour unions, it's fine. Well, anyway, that's official audio, and that is why it didn't happen, because they had all of this groundswell demanding it, so they said, yeah, shut up, maybe people will forget about it. They obviously didn't, and Labor, here's a thing that you will never expect Friendly Geordies to say, but is a good government, and so it wants a good government to run, i.e. doesn't want hundreds of billions of dollars getting chucked into programs just to get the Nationals re-elected again. So it started up its own independent body with blackjack and hookers, and maybe it might be investigating those things, but it'll just be its own independent organisation that'll be looking into, okay, all right, we get that there's going to be some pork barrelling, but at some stage you're taking the piss. I assume. I haven't read the whole 200-page document. Look, can you give me a break? I've been trying to get this thing to get into a T-Rex mode, and if you know how to get it done, put it in the comments, because this has been consuming me for days. I was going to throw it, but this actually costs a lot of money. I threw it anyway at the end. Yeah. So, no, we're getting back to business. Like and subscribe to this video. You take your part. Look, just so you know what's in it, we're going to watch this Dorothy Dixon question during question time in Parliament. If you don't know what a Dorothy Dixon question is, it's so good. It's when someone in your own party stands up and says, my question's to the Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. Albanese. You have shown great restraint in not being an alcoholic anymore. However, I also have to point out and let it be known that you were able to put it away harder than Bob Hawke. Does that mean that you're a better Prime Minister than Bob Hawke? Well, I thank the member for Higgins for her very difficult question. After long reflection on this, I would have to say that the answer is a hard yes. Anyway, let's watch this. I imagine you haven't seen it yet, but you should, because this is a history-making moment, okay? It's not all in wars, and that is a very important part of history. I don't know why I'm lumping that in the whatever point. But also, legislation's pretty cool, kids, so check this one out. Yeah. See you in a bit. We'll break it down.
My question is to the Prime Minister. How is the Albanese Labor government delivering on its pledge to return accountability, transparency and integrity to government?
Give the call to the Prime Minister.
Well, I thank the member for Higgins. I thank the member for Higgins for her question and for her contribution already that she is making in her short time in this place. I can confidently say the best member for Higgins that this House of Representatives has ever seen. And the legislation that we introduced today is fulfilling yet another commitment. Yet another commitment, the introduction of the National Anti-Corruption Commission. Because quite clearly we do need to restore faith in our political system. We need to make sure that there's transparency, that there's accountability and that there is integrity. We said we would introduce the legislation and we did it today, and it delivers on our promises. We promised broad jurisdiction, and what this legislation does is will allow for the investigation of serious or systemic corruption conduct across the Commonwealth public sector by ministers, parliamentarians, their staff, statutory office holders, employees of all government entities and government contractors. We delivered. We promised that it would be independent, and indeed it will be independent, of government with discretion to commence inquiries into the serious or systemic corruption on its own initiative or respond to referrals. This legislation delivers on that. We promised oversight, and the body will be overseen by a statutory parliamentary joint committee empowered to require the Commission to provide information about its work. This legislation delivers. We promised retrospective powers, and we'll deliver that through this as well. We promised public hearings, and the Commission will have the power to hold public hearings in exceptional circumstances or where it's in the public interest to do so, and it will make the decision. It will make the decision as to whether there'll be public hearings or not. We promised that on findings, that it would be empowered to make findings of fact and refer matters to the Director of Public Prosecutions or to the AFP, and we've delivered on that. And we promised procedural fairness, and this is contained in the legislation. Findings, of course, will be subject to judicial review. So this legislation delivers on all of our commitments. We're not the first government to go to an election committee, to a National Integrity Commission, of course. The former government did that. Prior to 2019, they just didn't get around to it. They just didn't get around to even moving the legislation, let alone passing it through the chamber. So we'll wait and see what those opposite do, but this legislation is worthy of support of the entire Parliament.
Check out Dutton's face while he's announcing it. We've got a hot mic on him, actually. This is a Friendly Geordies exclusive.
Prior to 2019, they just didn't get around to it.
And how's this for a technological leap? I've just been informed that we have a hot mic into Angus Taylor's brain. My God, what does that say? Yep, just look around casually. They could be referring to anyone. Yep, just look at my phone. I think I pulled it off. Great job, Angus. Well done. And we got a hot mic into Tony Burke's brain. Hey! Hey! Now, down to brass tacks. This is awesome. That is all. It is, though. There really isn't that much more to this story. Everyone across the political spectrum seems to think that this is great, except for Angus Taylor for very mysterious reasons. But even the Greens seem to think that it's great. Of course they would, though, with their secret alliance with Labor. The only criticism that I keep hearing is that although you can have public hearings, it's more difficult to have public hearings than it is in, say, New South Wales. To which my retort would be, yeah, but it's easier than it is in Victoria. So that's a time will tell. We don't really know how many of these hearings are going to be public or not. But Mark Dreyfus, have I ever told you about him? He's our AG, or should I say GG for gangster guy. Not Governor General, just needed to clarify that before we introduce him, because he clarifies the point about public hearings. Look at what he has to say.
But we'd expect, looking at the experience of the New South Wales ICAC, that only its experience is that only 5% of its hearings are in public. That already tells you that it's a fairly exceptional thing for an anti-corruption commission like this to hold a public hearing.
But would people find out eventually what the Commission found, even if you did have a lot of private hearings? Would it actually be reporting publicly at the end of the day?
The Commission will report publicly its findings of corruption.
Well, there you go. We don't know if there's going to be that many public hearings or not yet. That is still a question that has a question mark on it. That's why it would be a question. So we do need to actually see this in action before we can make any judgments on it. I also need to read the bill, but I will be letting you know if there isn't enough public hearings. I'll be keeping my eye on this because I'm going to be very upset if it never comes to light Angus Taylor's secret love affair with that giant pipe he installed in Snowy Mountains 2.0 scheme, because he's that big. But also, honestly, on the whole, happy days. Looks like we are getting an anti-corruption commission with teeth federally. That is going to uncover a lot of headaches for the Liberal Party, which is what I'm personally happy about. I'm sure you like the fact that it's not your tax dollars going to waste, but, you know, everyone's happy there, aren't they? Well, the crossbench is happy, so you should be. Shut up. And come see my show. Sydney on Saturday, Perth another day, Canberra another day, Brisbane another day. I think I'm going to Tasmania as well. Make sure that you get your tickets at friendlygeordies.com. We'll be back when I've actually read the bill, or when we review worst cash converters in Australia. Which one will be first? I think we all know which one it's going to be. And we'll see you next time. Ooh, you better press subscribe so you find out. What a sizzle to end on, eh?
Please share and comment below. Comment.